Good afternoon, everybody. Old school. This is old school comic crack here. In a car. No, there's no baby coming for those of you who have been around on the channel for a while. I am driving, though. I've got you hooked up on the dashboard with my little handy dandy phone clip. I'm driving to the comic shop, so I thought I'd have a chat while we're going there. We'll see how long this kind of little thing happens, how long it lasts. It is minus 19 out is what my car is telling me right now. So there's no chat this afternoon with Rasa. I've read a whopping 2 comics this week, and those happened yesterday. Continuing in on my Sanctuary read, which this camera angle is really reminding me of Sanctuary. There's a lot of stuff where they're posed and they're looking off in the distance and things, and it's kind of like from below a little bit. So this is my Sanctuary framing for this video here. It's still a really good book. I'm almost done the second part, I guess the second chapter. It's divided into these parts, 9 issues each. It's really peaking. It's amazing how sometimes some of the reading that you do, depending on the genre, can kind of reflect maybe what's going on in your real life. And since one of the reasons we didn't get a lot or I didn't get a lot of reading done this week is been dealing with union stuff. There's been a lot of things to catch up on. We had our first kind of unofficial meeting last week, and then we've got our first official board meeting coming up this week. So there's been a lot of preparation in getting the handle on finances and just things that they've been talking about, looking over their agendas, looking over their minutes, looking over everything that's been going on, reviewing office policies, et cetera, so it's been a lot of work actually just to kind of catch up and kind of get into the swing of things. Hopefully this is going, it looks like it is, and getting into the swing of things. So that's taken up a lot of time when it comes to kind of getting ready for that whole business. So it hasn't left a lot of time to read, but that is matched kind of with what's going on in Sanctuary right now. In the story, our 2 main characters, Hojo, and I can't remember the other guy's name. One is in the political stream and one is in the Yakuza stream, and they're looking to kind of gain control of both of those kind of worlds to create a new Japan is basically what they're doing. And there's a scene in one of the issues where Hojo is on a train, and this little boy comes to sit on his lap to look out the window because he wants to see Mount Fuji. And Hojo talks about the importance of, when you're climbing a mountain, it's just one step at a time. You just take it one step at a time, and eventually you meet your peak. So it'll be interesting to see how this transition goes. There's going to be some struggles for sure. There's going to be some things that I don't think people are going to be too happy with, but whatever it is, what it is. So it's just interesting that kind of is mirroring sort of what's going on in my real life. I can see that there's comments. I'm sorry, I can't really see them. It's way too small. I do appreciate whoever's there watching. I don't think I'll be able to read the comments, even though I do see that someone has typed. I just can't. It's way too small on my phone. So yeah, like I said, no chat this Sunday, and then no wrap this Sunday night. The MERS stack has been going pretty well. I think I've done about 8 articles at this point. It's been great. The listening that I've been doing to MERS Bao stuff has been a lot of fun. Writing about the albums has been a blast, actually. I kind of write about them as I'm listening to the album, and it's kind of amazing how this sort of storytelling can go for some of this stuff. I don't know if it's partially due to what I love about these more experimental genres and the images that they can create in your head. Some people associate kind of more free jazz and noises as like textures and colors. Some people see like colors and things. A friend of mine in Ontario, he's the guy that introduced me to kind of the world of free jazz, and Albert Eiler and Peter Brotzman, et cetera, et cetera. And he would often say that when he's listening, he sees colors, and then those colors have kind of like a texture to them. when it's been coming to this Merzbow, and I don't know if that's because I've been writing about it. One of the things that happens when I've been writing about it is that not only are his albums from this era a little more, I would call them cinematic. There's a lot more use of space. There's a lot more albums where it's numerous tracks making up the album as opposed to one long piece. So there's an opportunity for more storytelling. So I'm finding that as I'm listening to the albums, ideas are being triggered by what I'm listening to, pairing that with how I'm trying to write about stuff. And then as I kind of get this idea cemented in my head early on, continue to follow that theme through, and have been amazed a couple of times by the end of the album that it's been very much a complete story or movie or scene or something like that, right? It's been amazing to have that experience, because I don't think I've ever really experienced that with Masami Akita's work. Obviously, there's a big part of it where I'm not as versed in his 80s material. I know more of the stuff from the 90s and beyond. So that might also have something to do with it. He's still experimenting at this early stage. He has a sound for sure, but he's still experimenting with kind of free jazz elements and things too. So it's been great. So if you haven't subscribed, it's free. There's no payment, no nothing. If you sign up with your email, the reviews come straight to your email. If you have the Substack app, I think it's kind of, I looked a little bit at the app. I'm not crazy about trying to figure out how to engage on a new app, to be honest, but I know that you can follow me on Substack as well too. But like I said, the most important thing is it's free. I'm not looking for any sort of buy me a coffee nonsense. This is a writing experiment for me. It's something that I'm loving doing. Actually, I'm kind of surprised at how much I'm enjoying it, which is good for kind of my mind, and also to kind of put myself in a place of shutting everything else out and focusing on this, I think is really nice too. I was watching For the Love of Comics had a stream, maybe it's still going. And there was a conversation on 420, had a video that I watched this morning, kind of talking about a haul that he did. And then For the Love of Comics was talking a similar kind of topic. This idea of 420 had talked about the bell curve when it comes to entertainment, specifically comics. It sucks over here, then it kind of climbs, and then it comes back down to it's a work of genius. And then there's all this stuff in the middle of popularity, and all of these kind of factors run into it, right? So there's he was talking about wanting to experience stuff on either end of the bell curve, not as interested on things that are happening kind of in the middle of the bell curve, because that's just not as engaging for him as a reader. And I think a lot of us potentially think the same thing. There's just because it's mainstream doesn't mean it's very good. And that's kind of what For the Love of Comics was touching on when I was listening earlier. This idea that just because it's popular and just because a lot of people have engaged with a work doesn't mean that it's a quality work. There's going to be a lot that comes into play when it's your personal experiences, when it's your feelings about, let's talk comics, for example, your feelings about the creators, the way that you're reacting to the artwork, your knowledge of kind of the technical abilities that go into things, the creations of comic books and things like that. So that doesn't work, bud. You got to pull in a little more. So all of that ends up, there we go. So all of that ends up making a big part into your enjoyment. And my thought on it was that one of the things that I think was being talked about, again, I was listening to bits and pieces as I was driving, so I didn't catch every detail in For the Love of Comics, but this idea of the separation of the creator from the work, like what happens when the creator is a piece of shit. I mean, first of all, that would obviously depend on your perspective. What do you know about the creator? What do you think you know about the creator? More importantly, for somebody like me, what do you think you know about the creator? Because again, just because it's online and some fucking faceless people that you've never had an interaction with are saying certain things doesn't mean that they're true, obviously. And then what has this person supposedly done, and what is your relation with that idea? Do you think that is something that you would write someone off for? I don't think Ethan Van Sciver is worth a second thought in your head. What little I know about him, and trust me, it's very little, he seems like an absolute piece of shit. I have zero interest in reading his comics, but that's not solely because of him. It's because what I know about his comics, they don't interest me at all. The subject matter doesn't interest me. Now, I'm not going to go looking into it much further because I have an opinion about him as a human being. Whether my opinion on him is right or wrong is irrelevant. It's my opinion, and that's going to stop me from doing some things. And it's the same with anybody else with what they engage with, right? If you think that there's something you know about a creator, and that turns you off, then of course you shouldn't engage with the work. Absolutely, you absolutely shouldn't. Why would you? In the past, we've talked about engagement on social media, this idea of censoring people online, this idea of shutting down voices instead of using the functions that are available to us. The main one being you don't have to go on Twitter. Twitter isn't, or social media. Let's not single one out. Social media isn't relevant to your day-to-day operations, I would hope, in your job, unless your job is social media manager for a company or something, then that's obviously different. But for the vast majority of us, social media isn't something that we need. So the first step is, if there's things going on, you don't have to engage. And then obviously the second step is, if you do want to engage on social media, there is a block button. You don't have to follow certain people, all of these things, right? I find that oftentimes when this conversation of problematic creators or problematic people, it seems to be this, I don't like them and I don't agree with what they did, so therefore I don't think anybody else should read them. And let's be clear, I'm not saying that happens every single time, and I'm also not saying that everybody engages in that way. So just make sure that we get some perspective here. When I do come across those ideas, though, that's kind of what sets me off, this kind of knee-jerk reaction to, I don't want to read it. I don't want my kids to read it. I think this person is a bad person, so therefore nobody else should read it. Just seems nonsensical. I don't understand it, because you have so much control over yourself as an individual and what you interact with. That should be the first reaction, as opposed to censoring voices. And then that goes from there, which maybe we won't get into because that becomes a kind of hot topic thing. And if I'm going to go into depth on this, I'd prefer to engage with the comments as opposed to just talking shit to myself in a car. What else has been on my mind? I haven't seen Nosferatu yet. I know that that's something that people are interested in. I've seen a couple of stills. I'm really trying to stay away from seeing too much even about the film. Unfortunately, I do now know what Nosferatu looks like in the movie. So, which isn't such a bad thing. I kind of wish it would have been left as a surprise. I think it looks pretty good, actually, from the stills that I've seen. But I'm looking forward to seeing the movie. I'm hoping I can go this week to see it. But we'll see how that pans out. What the heck is going on here? Yeah, I don't think there's too much else going on. The mail has kind of started trickling in again, which is nice. So I've gotten a stack of tapes from one batch of tapes from this place called Transylvanian Recordings. And the highlight on that so far has been this band Swamp Witch. Amazing album, really good sludgy doom. And then the other batch of tapes is from my favorite High Met Der Catastrophe, which I've talked about a million times, the label out of Italy. I got 3 more. I'd ordered them back, I don't know, it was late October, early November, I think. But obviously the delay really put a damper on things. So that's been great to kind of start seeing some stuff coming in. There's a couple of things that I'm expecting in the mail soon that we'll talk about. No, I don't want to turn here. There are a couple of things I'm expecting in the mail that we'll talk about when they come in. Some books and things. And then just for kind of probably finally, because I'm realizing I don't have enough to talk about to make it all the way to the comic shop. Finally, a couple of things that I'm looking forward to this year. That was another piece that was being talked about on For the Love of Comics stream. A reminder to everybody, if you're interested, is this week is when the first volume of Kamui comes out from Drawn and Quarterly. There's going to be 10 volumes total. I believe every single one of the volumes is going to be 600 pages. So that first one comes out this week. I think I may have gotten, I know that I got Rasa interested in it too. So we're hoping that comes out this week when it's as it's supposed to. And I'm hoping I'll probably end up reading it as soon as I get it that night. I'll probably start digging into it. I'm very excited, actually. So hopefully we'll have that to talk about next Sunday in the stream. I'm going to pull out some of the Kamui Eclipse comics as well, too, just to kind of compare. I don't know where the Eclipse series started. I don't know if they kind of, for that, whatever it was, 30, 40 issue run, I don't know if they picked some stories from various eras and sort of crammed them all together, or if they started from the beginning and just did a portion of it before they ended it, or started in the middle or started in the end. I'm not sure where they were in the overall arc, but I'm very excited about that book. I think there's 2 volumes that come out this year, one next week, and I think the other one comes out in like June or July. There wasn't an announcement about volume 3 on Drawn and Quarterly's website, just these first 2. So I imagine there's going to potentially be one more volume before the end of the year. How these things work, I don't know. When it comes to reprinting stuff, they have a plan maybe for 10 volumes, but I'm assuming that a big part of that is they're going to see how the first couple of volumes sell. So yeah, that's one to keep your eyes out for, because it is, from what I've read from the Eclipse stuff, I loved it. Kamui was the impetus for the Garo magazine, I believe. I believe the Garo magazine in Japan was started, and Kamui was kind of the main reason they wanted to put something like that together. Garo apparently was something that focused more on independent and alternative mangaka and kind of giving them a voice and giving them an opportunity to publish. And then, of course, the other thing that I'm looking forward to this year, well, I guess there's 2 things. The other one I'm looking forward to, which needs really nothing more to talk about because we've talked about him to death, Corbin, this guy Richard Corbin, I don't know if you've heard of him, Dimwood. So Den Volume 5 comes out, and then the next one is Dimwood, which is the first time this graphic novel was something that he was working on before he passed away. This is the first time it's going to see publication. Villarrubia kind of, I don't know what kind of hand he had in it as far as finishing it up. I don't know the state of where it was. I'm sure those details will be in that volume. I don't know a date on that one off the top of my head, but that is coming, which I think is going to be very exciting. And then the other one that's coming out, Gore Vidal and Howler Mouse had a chat about Daredevil's Born Again. They're redoing the Mazzucchelli Born Again Artist Edition. Again, I don't know if it's already out or if that's coming out. I don't know if I'm going to get it or not. I'm tempted for sure, but I don't know if I want to keep going down this path of artist editions. I've got 3 of them sitting beside me in the basement, and it's not an ideal spot for them. But that said, though, obviously I'm very interested. I love the Mazzucchelli Year 1 Artist Edition. I love Daredevil. I think that would be great to see what they present in that book. I'd love to get that in a large format as well, too. But I don't think I can justify that one. So as I cross the bridge to Henderson Highway here, the Redwood Bridge, probably about 10 minutes away from the comic shop, I'm going to call it there. Like I said, thanks very much for people that are watching. Sorry I couldn't engage with the comments It's just way too small for me to see, and I can't expand or anything as I'm driving. So hopefully this was somewhat interesting. We'll see you next weekend. We're gonna try to do a Sunday chat, Rasa and I'm gonna make an attempt to do some reading. The reading that I do will probably be later in the week. I've got the new issue of Sickness finally, so I'm looking forward to getting into that. But for the first part of the week, I really need to focus on this transition in the union here. There's still more work that I need to do. I don't know how much time I'm going to have to read because once I've been reading all day and I kind of am just ready for bed, it kind of zonks me out, to be honest. So thanks very much for those of you who are here. I think that says 5 of you, and we'll talk to you later.